Have you ever thought about time? We say it flows like a river, but what if that's wrong? What if time doesn't move at all? What if it's a vast, still surface, like a perfectly calm lake? And what if, just beneath that surface, something is waiting? Welcome to Greenvale. It's a quiet town, the kind you find tucked away on old maps. Birch trees line the streets, their white bark peeling like old paper. Most mornings, a pale fog rolls in from the hills, and the light filters through it like it's passing through glass. It's a place where nothing is supposed to happen, but it did. She disappeared for 3 minutes and came back 11 years older. I wasn't there when it happened, but I've seen the recording. And sometimes, when I watch it, I think she's still inside it, waiting. Her name was Clara Hemsley, 29 years old, an elementary school teacher. People described her as calm, routine, and precise, predictable even. Her life was a series of carefully observed rituals, the most important of which was her morning walk. Every single morning, at exactly 7:03 a.m., she and her dog, Mero, would step out their front door. The event itself was captured by accident. A simple home security camera, mounted across the street, was recording its usual uneventful view. But on that day, it recorded the impossible. If you watch it frame by frame, you can pinpoint the exact moment reality fractured. At 7:03 and 14 seconds, Clara appears on the sidewalk, Mero trotting beside her. At 7:03 and 16 seconds, she suddenly stops and looks up, as if she heard something no one else could. 2 seconds later, at 7:03 and 18 seconds, she's gone. She just vanishes. Not a blur, not a flash of light. One frame she's there, the next she isn't. Exactly 3 minutes later, she reappears in the same spot. But it's not the same Clara. Her hair, once brown, is now streaked with gray. Her face is thinner, etched with lines that weren't there before. The watch on her wrist, a simple digital one, is glowing with the time 9:47 p.m. And her dog, Mero, is gone. The police were called, then doctors, then specialists. They ran every test imaginable. Physically, she was fine, healthy even. But biologically, her body had aged 11 years. When they asked her what happened, where she'd been, she remained unsettlingly calm. All she would say was, "I blinked." Later, she offered a few more cryptic details. She described a horizon that never ended, a place where pale, thin shadows waited for her, just beyond her reach. The wrongness was subtle at first. Her speech patterns shifted. She still spoke English, but the cadence was off, the rhythm slightly distorted, as if she were translating from a language with different rules. Her handwriting, once neat and upright, now tilted forward at an aggressive, unnatural angle. Her behavior at home grew stranger. She covered every window with thick blackout curtains. Mirrors were draped in sheets. She unplugged her television, her computer, anything with a screen. She'd spend hours just sitting in the dark, listening to the silence, as if someone were speaking to her through it. It was inevitable that the security footage would leak. In a matter of days, it went viral. The internet became obsessed with the Greenvale glitch. Self-proclaimed experts and amateur sleuths analyzed every single frame, searching for an explanation. They noticed something the initial investigators had missed. Just before she disappears, for a fraction of a second, Clara's shadow splits in two. One shadow stays with her, but the other lags behind, a faint, delayed outline. Most experts dismissed it as a simple video compression glitch, a digital artifact. But a strange rumor began to circulate among those who watched the clip on loop. They claimed that if you stared at the footage for too long, you could hear a low, persistent hum emanating from your speakers, a sound that wasn't on the original recording. As her digital ghost haunted the internet, the real Clara retreated further into herself. She cut off contact with almost everyone, communicating only through letters. These letters were filled with long, seemingly random numeric sequences, all repeating in patterns of 7. In a final, desperate letter to her sister, she wrote something that chilled me to the bone. "The world still turns, but I don't think it's mine anymore." Months passed. The public buzz faded, as it always does. But the mystery remained. Finally, a journalist managed to secure a short recorded interview with Clara. He asked her, point blank, where she was for those 3 minutes. She looked at him, her eyes old and weary, and described not a place, but an interval, an endless, sterile, white space, devoid of features. It was filled, she said, with still figures, countless silent shapes, all facing outward, towards some unseen horizon. They weren't moving. They were just waiting. Waiting for movement. Waiting for a disturbance. And in that silent eternity, she had a horrifying realization. She was facing the wrong way. They were waiting for her. 9 months after her return, it happened again. Her next-door neighbor, a man named Ellis Guerin, was woken late one night by a strange, pulsing light coming from Clara's house. Worried, he went to his window and started recording with his phone. The footage is shaky, filmed through a gap in her curtains. It shows Clara sitting perfectly still in a chair in the middle of her living room, illuminated by a brilliant, sourceless light. As Ellis recorded, he noticed something impossible. Clara's reflection in the darkened window behind her was delayed. Her real body would shift a fraction of an inch, and a full second later, her reflection would mimic the movement. Then he heard her voice. Or rather, her voices. 2 distinct vocal tracks seemed to overlap. One was the Clara he knew, the 29-year-old teacher. The other was older, raspier, the voice of the woman she had become. The younger voice whispered, "It's slower here." The older voice answered, "But it notices you." Then, the light in the room didn't just switch off. It seemed to fold inward, collapsing into the spot where she was sitting until there was only darkness. Then, silence. When the police finally broke down the door, the house was empty. The only things they found were stacks of notebooks, filled with 2 repeating phrases, "I arrived before I left, and they measure us by stillness." On the wall, a simple kitchen clock was stopped at exactly 3:18 a.m. Authorities quickly moved to suppress the story. The official explanation was that Clara Hemsley, suffering from a severe mental health crisis, had simply run away. The video was a hoax. The witnesses were mistaken. But you can't erase something like this. Not completely. Those who were involved, the neighbors, the first responders, even some of the online sleuths who stared too long at the footage, started reporting after effects, small glitches in their own reality, a mirror that hesitates for a split second before showing their reflection, clocks that inexplicably skip forward by 3 minutes, the unnerving feeling of their own reflection lagging just behind them when they turn away too quickly. Back in Greenvale, at the elementary school where Clara once taught, strange things still happen. Maintenance staff have recorded faint whispers coming from behind her locked classroom door. When analyzed, the whispers repeat a single chilling phrase. 3 minutes is long enough. And in the main hallway, the large wall clock is frozen. Its hands are stopped at 7:03 a.m. So no, time isn't a river. It doesn't flow. It observes. It watches. And Clara Hemsley, she never truly returned from wherever she went. She just sent back an older version of herself as proof of her journey. Maybe she's still there, in that white, silent interval, standing perfectly still, outside of motion, watching us move through our lives. So if you ever lose 3 minutes, not in memory, but in a sudden, unaccountable patch of silence, it wasn't nothing. It was her. A reminder. Listen quietly. Watch closely. They are always here. Thanks for watching. If this story stuck with you, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. We dive into the strange and the unexplained every week. Until next time, stay curious.